And I need to move that again to the side. So welcome to the webinar for Blueprint version 2.1. My name is Isabel von Steinecker. I am a learned geologist. I am with Blueback and Cegal for nearly 7 years now, and I am doing a lot of geomodeling at client side, but I also work as a geophysicist at client side. That was also the first time I was kind of involved into Blueprint, working with it on client side, and then we figured out that we need some more improvements to make it good, to make it working, and so we worked together. I worked together a lot with the developers to get the next version out and get some of the ideas I had into that one, also obviously together with client suggestions. So now I just want to go quickly through the PowerPoint to say what is Blueprint in general, what's our strength, what is new in version 2, then I do a short demo in Petrel, and then I want to talk about the usability, what's basically what you can use it for, and then sum up the whole thing. So what is Blueprint? In general, Blueprint is a plugin for Petrel modeling. It is a separate installation in the Blueback toolbox area or in the Blueback Marina area. It is an analyzing and reporting tool for the grid properties you made, at the moment mainly for the standard properties like porosity, permeability, and water saturation, and net to gross. With this tool you can extract property information and volumetric information per zone or per subzone very easily, and bring that into Word reports. So the little picture shows how your Blueback Blueprint menu looks in Petrel, and you will see that later on as well. So the strength of Blueprint is that it is very easy to extract information from grid models. You create a template and you can use that. Everybody can basically use that in Petrel and extract information. This makes it very easy and simple to compare different models with each other to extract the same information from different models. For me, it is a good time saver for creating plots and maps per zone or per facies or per subzone without having to click a lot of buttons in Petrel and set up a lot of windows in Petrel. You have a defined template structure in which you can set up, so you can create your modeling reports or your Petrel reports, grid reports beforehand, and use the same template company-wide for different grids and different projects. And one thing that makes my life so much easier is that you can link it into Word, and it creates a report layout based on the company template, and you don't have to fiddle around with the fonts, with the headers, and with the size of the plots. New in version 2 is biggest improvement, I think, is a performance and a runtime improvement, so it runs much, much faster than version 1. You now have also an edit template tool where you create your templates. In that you can copy sections, which is very handy when you have one property, or when you have several properties you want to extract the same information out. So you just set it up once and then you just copy and paste it and then rename it to the proper property. In the report creating, you now can also incorporate an output sheet input. So that means you can use the volumetrics from the output sheet, the information you have from the volumetrics in the output sheet, and incorporate that into a report, as well as you can do it with the modeling input parameters, which are extracted in the output sheet. You also have new peer review option, that gives you an option to, when you have a review, that this person can write comments or questions in a section in the report directly in Petrel. You have a better table handling. So the developers did something nice, that the tables basically look prettier, and the writing and the size of the font is all nicer now. They also implemented that you can use Petrel stair-step grids now, and that you get the correct information out of that. You have several improvements in the quality of the plots and also in the content of the plots, so you have more options to choose or to modify. You have the legends, which you now post outside or next to the plot window. That doesn't cover any of your data in your plot window. You can color data by fast use now, and you now have the option to not only report by zone but also by subzone and layer. In the trend analyzer, you have the big new data decimation button, which is perfect. So it decimates your data shown in your window in Petrel to a certain amount of data, so that speeds up again the option. You also have the option to untick that button, and then obviously it shows all data. But also once you export the data to a report, it of course will use every single data it has. The well path intersects now at the zone level you have displayed, and not on the top surface location as it was in version 1. And as well, in the property and trend analyzer, you have the same options that you have in the create report, that you have a lot of improvements in the map content and all other things. In the volumetric maps, not so much changes, except that the table is now in a better readable format, and the numbers look much more familiar than they were before. Petrel. And I opened my little Petrel project. So first, this is an report I created. So basically what I created in this report is that I update the table of content, and then you just get all the information directly from Petrel in there. So you can write texts in there, you have the naming of the plots directly in there, you have the description, what is in there. So you can add all these things in and have it all really nicely set up. So how do we get to this report? You see you have a report folder now in the input tree that is creating your report. So if you go into the settings of each, you see which of your properties were used to create that report. And if you right-click again and open the report, which I already did, you see the report in there and all the data in there. So you have some screenshot options, and also here the automatic extracted maps. If you want to modify your maps, you still need to press on your modification button. This is the same thing that you have in your trend analyzer. We will go through that in a little bit, and here you can show your increments and change them. So when you change your increments into these windows itself, you need to be aware that they only change for this single plot and not for all of them. By default, it changes all the plots together. So if we now go into Marina, this is the tab where you create your report. So you choose your report template, which I show you in a second, and then you choose your Word document, you drop in your grid, your properties and your well logs, and basically just press apply. I created a very small report now, to show you how it works. So you see here now you have your additional functionality in there. You have your peer review option, that is this one, so you can, and then you also have your improvements and your data in there. What you don't have in there at the moment is that you have, when you start your report fresh, you kind of have to press the refresh all button, which will then make Petrel go through the grid and extract all the information you have created from your report or you want to create in your report, and it will display it. And so that is usually taking a bit of time. Depending on how big your grid is, it takes a bit longer or a little bit less longer. I have a very small grid, so you see it went really, really fast. So if we look at our improvements now and open them up, you see that all the maps are updated automatically. So I made an extraction per zone, so it extracted all my subsurfaces per zone automatically with a shortcut. Then I made some histograms where I also plotted all the things in there. So you see the histogram from upscale well logs, input well logs, and also the resulting property. So how you create a template? You have 3 options to create your template. You have the option of create a template from a report. That is basically when you don't have access to one of the reports, you can drop your report in there and press apply, and then it opens the template from that report. The option I use most is that I embed the template, so I have several templates stored on my shared drive, and that I can access and then open this one up. Once I press apply, it opens my report setting. So here you see I made a complete report from overview of the scope of the work, input data, structure, framework, down to the volumetrics. Of course, Petrel or Blueprint cannot fill out all this information, but you still have then already the framework there to say, okay, these are things that you need to fill in manually. To copy, you press Control, highlight one section and just drag it where you want it, and then you have your new section of that where you have all the subsections in you created. So this is very handy to create new. Once you're happy with your modifications, you press a Save As button or Save button, and then you can use it to create your new report. The other option is to create a new template, which gives you an empty report, and there you can then add different sections. You can section basically means different headings. You can add different plots. You see you have different plot options, proportion, horizontal trends, intersection maps, and then you can repeat them by zone or fascias. So if we now go to the trend analyzer, these are all the options you have, or all the pictures and plots you can create in your report. And you can view them before. So here you see this is the decimation button, which uses only a part of the data, or when I untick it, it uses all my data I have. And this is good for visualization, so you can see through each zone which one you want to display. You see these are my whole wells, and then based on which zone I tick, you only see a short intersection of the well. You can also choose the intersection of your property, which one you want to look at. You can have horizontal trends along the side. You can modify this. You can look at vertical trends. You can also use the box plot. The box plot you can choose subzone or layers. I choose layer because I only used one horizon at the moment. And you also have here the option to show your box plot that you color it either by fascias. When you show your property, you can color it by fascias. In my case, I have a lot of sand. Or you can color it by segment, you can color it by zone, or choose a specific color. Fastest proportion is also one of my favorite viewpoints because I think that is something you cannot do in Petrel. And it shows you basically the vertical fastest proportion of the model and of the well logs and grids. So depending what you choose, so now I chose just to show the property, and I can compare that together to the well logs to see how is my discrete proportion of that property over the grid. The cross-plot, you can very quickly cross-plot your properties against each other. And also in the histogram, that is the histogram you can also see in the settings of each property, and specified by zone, by subzone, and make some interpretation there. When we go to the property maps, we see nothing really changed in these property maps. You see, I think they're very useful to get an overview of a field when you didn't work with that field or with that model. You can get quickly an overview of your porosity, your permeability, and your water saturation data. And it is the same with the volumetric maps. You can see that you get per zone a bulk volume, net volume, pore volume, hydrocarbon oil volume, and also gas volume if you have gas in your field. In this case, I don't have gas in your field. What you can do, you can tweak your model a little bit or your report a little bit, because at the moment it looks for the template of the gas. So as I have only oil, I can choose for display reasons my template as hydrocarbon volume gas from my STOIB and drop that in, and then I see my STOIB map. I obviously have to rename that manually, but in the table it used STOIB. So that is basically all the new, focusing on the new things. So if we are going back to our presentation, you can say, so what is in it for you? So what is Blueprint useful? How can you use it for? I think it is a very good reporting tool to make very quickly pretty maps and numbers for management of zones. So if they want to look at zone interval maps, you can create them very, very good and very easily. You can extract information for QC reasons from your properties to see how is my model done. Do I need to modify my properties to match better the well input data? Also, you have the reports stored in Petrel, as you see, when you created them for your grid, but you can also export them as a Word document, not when you have done it, but also at a later point in time to see what is done with it. The Blueprint report templates can be used company-wide, so they are not dependent on your one project. They are stored on a shared file, an XML file, and can be used for every Petrel project you're having to create the same information. It is a good guidance for writing reports, for setting your framework and your expectations to a company standard, so that every group, every asset is using the same way of making a report. And I think it is adding value mainly for the production and development teams, but also for exploration teams if they do simple grids and make some grid calculations. So to sum it up, Blueprint can be used for extracting and analyzing property data from 3D grid models. It is a time saver for creating plots and maps repeated per zone. You can have company templates for reporting. You have the peer review option if you wish so. And the summary of Blueprint version 2, you have an immense performance and runtime improvement. You have a new editor template tool to make your life easier to create templates, and you have a lot of improvements and additional functions in creating a report and the analyzing tool. And you see, with Blueprint you have more time to relax, as my girls like to do it. So that's it from my side. So if you have any questions, thank you for your attention. Are there any questions? Now I need to find the question button again.
Unmuted.
Not any questions so far, but let's see.
No questions as it looks. Well, then I thank you very much for attending, and our sales guys are happy to answer you any questions you have later in time, or of course sell you the software. Thank you and bye-bye.